Hey everyone, and welcome to the Always On Point podcast here with Kristen Ambos. Today we are joined with the local legend, Greg Dallaire from Dallaire Realty himself. Thank you so much for being here, Greg.
Well, you were too kind. I'm super excited to be here and have a great conversation with you today.
Yeah, over the years, you guys, I've gotten to know Greg, very well through the industry and become friends. But one of the things, and I'll just jump right into it, Greg. How many years have you been in the industry now?
So I started selling real estate in 2006.
Yeah.
I launched Dallaire Realty back in 2011. So dating myself back 18, 19 years in the industry. It's been a wild, fun ride, and I'm grateful to have just an incredible group of people around me on obviously our team side, but also in people that we work with as well. So
that's awesome. Very, very cool. And I've gotten to know your team over the years too. And one of the, if not the longest running same team of teams, meaning that the industry can be so transient, yet your team has still been so solidified for so many years amongst you all.
Yeah, we just celebrated a couple 10-year anniversaries on our team. We've got some 11, 12-year anniversaries. And like you said, the real estate industry is kind of like people are switching brokerages all of the time. And I think it's, a lot to do with the culture of the company.
Yeah.
And, we're always trying to learn and get better and provide more value. But I think we've got like Mike on our team who's been with me since 2011, who's just poured into every single person on our team and making sure that every single person has a place to grow, and develop them and maybe break ceilings. But we're always focused on providing value. And we've been really fortunate for the last 10 years. We've averaged 34 to 51 sales per agent. Now, we don't publicly post it on Facebook. We're not talking about how many houses we sell per year. But I think that is something that our culture is extremely proud of, that we're not about having the most agents. We're about building the most productive agents.
Yes.
Which is pretty neat.
Yeah.
So to have that level of sales productivity, the credit goes a lot to the support staff and the team around that provides a massive amount of leverage for each and every one of our agents. I really believe in not having individual assistants. I believe that all of us have 3 incredible assistants on our team.
Yeah.
And just trying to provide a better life and providing value to the team. I really believe in investing in getting our agents closings and also giving them leverage to have a little bit better life when they're on vacation too.
Yeah. That's big. And we were just talking about how it's so important. And so let's just dive in. The reality, for those consumers listening, but more so for the other agents that are listening, both new and veteran agents, myself included. Greg knows very well. I was one that worked around the clock, didn't really ever go on vacation, didn't travel. I was terrified of leaving at all because the phone was always ringing, and I was so proud because I worked so hard to get it to ring. And then now I'm going to walk away from it. But at the same time, and you guys have heard me discuss it, even in this podcast a couple different times, that burnout in this industry is a very real thing. And, one of the things that we do is not only I do lending, you do real estate. Not only are we working with clients daily, we're closing loans, we're also project managing everything. We are, in that project managing, we're also trying to find new clients. And now all of a sudden we have to be social media experts and influencers and all the different ways to get your name out there and express how you're more valuable than the next person. And one of the books you gave me from day one, which, Greg looked at me, he's like, have you ever read Ninja Selling? I was like, nope, never did. Still have the book you gave me. And I've now read it probably 4 or 5 times. And I keep taking small nuggets from it. And I only read it 2 chapters at a time because I think it's so good. You read too fast. It becomes one of those situations where you take so much in, then you go, I don't know what to do with it. So I've broken down a couple chapters at a time to really implement that. And one of those things implementing that I've really worked hard, didn't do very well 3 years ago, didn't do very well the first year. The second year I vacationed a little bit more and took some more time. This year, I'm doing even better because I realize that my family and my husband need me just as much as my clients do. And having that time. So just going back on that with work-life balance, how have you found it to be a benefit for you in your business?
I'm so proud of you first and foremost, because I do remember like 4 or 5 years ago, I remember you posting something on Facebook about being available on the weekends and evenings. And I remember messaging you or having a conversation with you saying, hey, like you, and it's a struggle, like this work-life balance, like if it wasn't for the team around us, like the life, but I still feel the pressures of it. Like I still want to respond to people quickly. I still want to provide an incredible level of service. But what's the fine line of that? But I'm proud of you to actually like go out, and I know you were traveling recently, like I was traveling recently, and I'm going to travel again. You know, I'm extremely grateful to be in a position where we can do that. But yes, I do have this pressure that is there, like, and it sometimes makes me anxious, and I think there's a better way. I was very in the early years not as open to leverage, and then I realized from some great mentors and people around me that people can do things much better than you can at certain things. But it's really neat to see you traveling. It's really neat to see you maybe not, I would say workaholics for both of us and other people in our, that we know close. There's the workaholic syndrome in our industry, but it's also like, you know, if we were to leave this earth, we're like, nobody cares that we're real estate or mortgage people. It's like, what impact did we actually make while we were here? And in Ninja Selling, I will definitely talk about that for a little bit, because I think that book, I would have given it to you like 7 or 8 years ago.
It was a while.
It was a while ago. And then to see, you know, if anyone's not read that book, it's by Larry Kendall, a gentleman out of Colorado, has an incredible brokerage, has an incredible way of running business. There's a lot of even local brokerages around here that kind of preach or, you know, do the ninja installation. But the one thing I will comment on is you actually did the first third of the book, which is kind of like the touchy-feely affirmations, you know, visualization. And Mike Wasselkoff has taught me for the longest time about the importance of that stuff. I remember writing down our goals in 2012 on just a piece of paper. And now obviously we do it on like a formal business plan. But I remember writing down a number that I thought was big and just surpassing that by a little bit. And like the feeling of that. And then the next year, being able to double that goal, which I thought was a previous number, which was really big, and then miss it by a little bit. So,
such a bittersweet moment, right? You're so proud, but you're like, damn it, I just needed that little bit.
I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because I was stuck in this like rat race of goals.
Yeah.
I still get pulled back into this rat race of goals where all of a sudden I should be focused on what I was able to accomplish through that journey.
Yeah.
And there was a book that, obviously we talked about Ninja Selling, but there was a book that really made me feel much better about just not being on this never-ending rat race of goal planning. And it's The Gap and the Gain. And Kennedy and Dan Kennedy, and he has a ghostwriter too that, but it talks about basically, it references that rat race of these goals, like where I set this goal which was double what I thought was big, but all of a sudden I didn't reach it. And then I feel like I can share a story. One of our agents on our team, actually, this was a while ago, sold 103 houses himself with the support of the team around him. And I can tell you that, you know, financially it was an incredible year, but no matter what, he still felt like it wasn't enough. And that was the moment I was like, what are we doing? Like, what's the point? You sold 103 houses, you have a lot of money, and you're miserable, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't think a lot of people talk about that.
And what's the average, just for the listening audience who aren't real estate agents, what's the average home sales in a year for a realtor?
I mean, if you Google it, it's usually like 4 to 7.
I was going to say, it's like 10 or less, isn't it?
Yeah, I know we had.
So he did 103, so that's phenomenal.
Yep.
Still feeling down.
And there's been times where I had a goal and I got down on myself, you know, because I didn't actually get to hit that goal, but I got really damn close.
Yep.
But the more important thing is there was this journey of what I was able to actually learn and accomplish throughout that period. So it's not just tied to that number.
Yeah.
And the gap and the gain actually really helped me open my eyes to like, there's so much more to it than this never ending race and not feeling like you're not good enough. And both me and the gentleman it was Mike who sold 103 houses. And I've referenced this exact thing numerous times with him and in conversations and in things like this, I guess. But to do that and still not feel great at the end of it is just like, makes you think there's got to be a better way.
Right. It's funny that you brought up the gap and the gain, because I found myself, January, February were relatively slow for our market. Brutally slow for me. I hate even admitting it, but it was. And I got really down on myself, really hard on myself. And when we went on vacation, I reread The Gap and the Gain on the way there and the way back. And it completely shifted my mindset like that. The 2 minutes into reading it, I was like, I am in the gap and I need to get back to the gain. And I got to pull myself out of it.
Oh, it happens for all of us. Even in the book, it talks about you're going to go back into the gap, but it's your ability to recognize that. And I'm not preaching here because I fall into the gap all the time.
Ditto.
It is a freaking part of the problem, but I have been able to pick myself up off of it. And I've also been able to coach, I could sense some body language in one of our team meetings yesterday from one of my favorite people on the team. And I just asked after the thing, I'm like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, I can tell by your body language something's going on. And I just kept digging, trying to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And I was able to uncover what it was. And I'm glad I did that because I don't like, there was times where our culture was kind of in disarray and, like it's like ebbs and flows, like where, one person with a toxic attitude can definitely bring down a boat. And
100%.
But the gap and the gain, like I fall into the gap all the time, and it's something I got to pick myself up and dust myself off. And then, and trying to think about like the absolute worst situations in your life and try to look at what it can be positive in that. And there's always something.
Always. It really does teach you how to find the silver line, even in the worst situation.
Yeah.
And to just keep your mind. I will also, agree with you that the affirmations, the gratitudes and affirmations, I am not perfect at doing them daily. I go through ebbs and flows of them as well. But when I do them regularly for months on end, man, does it prove to me every time. So why I stopped doing them is always one of those things where why did I stop doing that? It was a really good thing for me. But recognizing what I have to be grateful for every single day and then writing my affirmations 25 times and whatever it is, it really changes your mindset, which is half the battle, over half the battle.
Yeah, I would say that 99.9% of people haven't written down those affirmations 25 times like you. And I get to see the trajectory of where you were in, kind of your career change going from like where you were into a new role with a new company. And I get to see like the effects of the consistency of that for a period of time. And that's the first third of that book, Ninja Selling with Larry Kendall. And you got to the touchy-feely stuff and you got super deep on it and you were committed to it. And I actually hadn't seen anyone up until that point really take it to that level. And then I start seeing like these reminders from watching Mike kind of reinvent himself in like the investment and wholesale space, in addition to selling a lot of homes, in addition to being an awesome father and all these things. And it all goes back to the gratitude. It all goes back to the visualization. Like I knew, and like me and him have been together long enough, and then seeing other people like you empower these things, like really anything's possible if you can get all those things moving together. But, like I appreciate you being vulnerable. I can be vulnerable as well. Like I definitely have a struggle with the gratitude, and it's something that, I think Mike had like a 1,300-day streak going on gratitude.
Dang.
And for me, I struggle to be able to do it all the time. But whenever I feel really, really down, and I do from time to time,
yep.
I usually go to that journal, and then I look back at the cool stuff that I wrote previously.
Yes.
And it's like that power of that, and just to get back into the game, I think the gratitude is a big part of it. But yeah, I'm proud of you for actually like applying the principles. And like you said, if there is a time where you get maybe back in, even with both how incredible our businesses are, we still have to hit the reset button sometimes and get back to the fundamentals that got us to where we are.
Right. 100%. The basics. And I think if anything, the last couple years of this industry have shown how to go back to the basics, which is showing your value. Why are you in it? What are you in it for? being grateful for having those ideals, from these books in your mind, and what are you going to do with it? One of the things I've always talked about, which I think you handle so perfectly, is being genuine with what you're doing, with what your goal is, with what every business has a platform that it stands on, right? That these are the foundation of what this business is, and you've done that, and you've stand your ground on that. And I think it's so important to do that and always come back and remember why you're in it. And it's not just to sell a bunch of houses and make a bunch of money. It's to actually give back and to be a part of things as well. Giving back to your clients, giving back to your, I just got my movie ticket in the mail. Thank you so much. I'm so excited about that. That's one of my most favorite events that you've done. And I don't get to go every year because of
how many of those did you get? Did you get 12 or 15 of those? I got a question on that.
I didn't count them, but I'm going to go with at least 10. And I meant to bring them for you today in case that was an error.
Yeah, it was definitely, that's a funny story. I want to bring it up. So we've been doing some really cool, we like to give back to our clients. We like to give back to our community. So we're doing like a Paul's Pantry dive. I've always been a huge fan of Paul's Pantry. I feel like it's there's a lot of places you donate money to and you're wondering if the money's actually being used or being wasted behind the scenes on other administrative stuff. So I feel really good about that organization. But yes, we've consistently done some really cool things for our clients. And one of my friends who runs a great company called Thanks.io, who handles our mailers, who then ships, he runs the technology part of our process.
Sure.
But then it goes to a printer, and that printer, unfortunately, had sent out, we've been hearing 12 to 15 exact copies of the postcard to 2,600 people.
Oh boy.
So if you can do the math on that, thankfully I wasn't charged for the mistake. But if you take the math on it, just the postage alone, I guess the post office is going to get a little bump in revenue from us. But
wow. I was like, are they sending these? Now I know you have to RSVP, so it doesn't matter. I'm like, are these the movie? This is not the movie ticket. I'm like, something went awry here.
It was just their printer started spitting off 12 for each individual person.
Because I looked back and I saw that they were all in our name.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. Yeah. I'm like, this must be
I've never
that
been,
or you guys
I
are
can tell you what,
psyching me out.
I've never been blown up on my phone more. And it's funny, I was in a Snapchat group and people were kind of making fun of it. But I'm like, I don't think I've ever gotten as much publicity from something out of that. I had one of my clients, he's like, oh my gosh, are you trying to beat Grant Cardone? Because Grant Cardone is 10X. And he's like, you're 12X. Is this what you're trying to do? He goes, I think it's freaking brilliant, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just laughed, and I had some other people, send me some funny stuff. It's been a very good reception, but yeah.
Yes, it has. I got him over the course of 2 days, and I was like, all right, Greg, I'm coming.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That was the overwhelming thing. You must really want me to come to this movie. It's the Minecraft movie. So
yeah,
we did the Mario Brothers movie. That was a couple years ago, and we broke Procter & Gamble and Georgia Pacific's record at Green Bay Marcus East, which is cool because my dad worked for Procter & Gamble. So we used to go for Christmas. We'd go and, all of the employees' families would get to go to a movie and get popcorn and soda. And for us to break that record, I think the Mario movie obviously has something to do with it, but it was
but good, just great choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's incredible. Good for you guys. And you do certain things to give back to the community, which is always a big deal for me. Like you, Paul's Pantry, I'm a really big advocate for the NEW Community Shelter. Mm-hmm. And it's not because, we give money to the homeless. It's their step up program that I love. And it helps people in a really tough place learn how they can get better and feel empowered on their own right. And that's what really got me on that one. So, I do what I can to give back to that one, but it's always so important to have something that you really genuinely want to give back to and be some kind of a philanthropist in your area. And I'm not even just saying our industry, just in general. There's so many things that you can give back to. But that's one of the ones that makes me feel really good. And it's not even that it makes me feel good. For instance, I'll go and I'll serve lunch or dinner. And it's the employees that work that I get to serve, and they just get a break. Because that job is another one where it's almost 24/7.
Sure.
You're on call all the time. They have housing. They have people there, And that's just something that feels good. So, no, I anytime you give back to the community, I'm a big fan of that. So good for you for breaking that record.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And so now you've talked about how you've worked really closely with your, with the technology piece of Dallaire. And that's something you do really well, better than anyone I've seen in our market doing that. I've been on your app. It's very good. It's things like that you bring to the table that's so different than other, brokerages around. So what got you so excited about the technology side and bringing that and incorporating that into your business?
I was just, my father really couldn't teach me how to change oil in a car, but he was very into computers back in the early days. And he was, the coolest thing about that early days is like, we always had to figure out the solution to the problem.
Yep.
He would never just fix it for us. And I think even me as a parent, sometimes like I'm in this like fix it mode. And my kids are very tech savvy and I do make them try to work through and troubleshoot through the things to truly understand. But that's like the gift from the early days. I've been very immersed in technology, and then I got immersed in, online Texas Hold'em back in the day. And I just kept, like there's funny things about my whole story that someday I'll probably just unravel the whole thing. But,
do I smell a book opportunity?
There's a potential book, I guess, but it would be fun. But for tech for me is been just a passion. I've had an opportunity to work with some really cool companies, like Boomtown, back in the past, Sierra Interactive. I've just been able to see like the chess pieces moving before people can see it, or I've been able to beta test a lot of the software solutions because I don't know if it's just being immersed in it and just being so passionate about it, but I can typically see what the developers are trying to do or what they should be trying to do.
Sure.
And I get very, very passionate about that. I'm extremely passionate about artificial intelligence. I think it's an incredible way for our team or other teams around the country to become more efficient, provide better customer experiences, and actually be more present with customers. Like we were talking about before, that, I was big on note taking and try not to remember stuff, but AI is going to make it where that's not even a thing anymore.
Yeah.
And it's going to be who can have the most deep conversations with their customers,
right,
and then provide value after that. But I kind of live with the premise that I know that everything around me is rapidly changing. And I think that's one of the unique things that, our company's had.
Yeah.
And is our ability to adapt technology. Mike obviously does a good job of holding me back because sometimes when you have people like me, where we sometimes have squirrel brains, and I've gotten much better at it, we will never implement anything unless we can consistently do it.
Right.
And thankfully, a lot of our support staff can take a great, brilliant idea and allow us to do it consistently. Because great salespeople are not real good at doing things consistently.
No.
Like we're relaunching a program. We used to have like these wrestling belts where whoever had the most appointments in a month would get the belt and they get some cash. And then, we had like whoever had the most pendings, whoever had the most connects. So we're kind of like relaunching
How
that.
fun. Little internal competition. Never hurt anybody.
Yeah. So just.
And it's fun.
Key performance indicators, really looking at what moves the needle. Like Tom Ferry always said, run plays that work. And I think that we got away from that for a little while, even though we've had this really incredible, consistent success. But I think that we can continue to enhance that.
Yeah.
But I will never stop trying to make our processes, systems better.
Yeah.
I've been meeting with Bill, our closing coordinator. I've been meeting with Tom, our listing manager, just about improving, streamlining processes, streamlining efficiencies. If we have a problem with something, we figure out like, well, how can we either educate the customer ahead of time so we don't get that question asked, or how can we solve it for the future to become more efficient.
Right.
So it's not just on like one side of the business, it's almost like all the sides, which can be exhausting at times.
Right.
But I also feel like if you're running a real estate business right now and you're not trying to become more efficient, I can tell you all of the national portals and everything are.
Right.
So it's almost like a space race. And I think that's been one of our unique things in this local market is that I have been on the cutting edge of that stuff for a while.
Yeah.
And it's like I eat, breathe, and sleep it. And I don't think it's ever going to stop, to be honest.
No. And you have definitely done that. What would you say to somebody who's like, AI is terrible and going to take over the world? Because I feel like there's people right now who have embraced it completely, and there's people out there that are terrified of it. So, especially in this industry, and you utilizing it and being such a fan, what downside would there be?
I mean,
maybe that's not the right way to ask the question, but do you know what I'm getting after?
I think it's a brilliant question. It's a challenging one to answer because I definitely think there is some humanitarian issues and even like Sam Altman of OpenAI has been very, and I'm like, you hear scary things like universal basic income and things of that nature, which sounds extremely scary to me when you think about just certain things. But as far as AI is concerned, I know that I have to be on the cutting edge of it. I have seen the scary side. Like I've seen a gentleman, really incredible guy named Brendan Duncan, actually using voice AI agents. Like they're actually calling and they're actually getting better and better and better at having conversations.
Yeah.
I saw the way your face reacted, and that's a normal thing, but that is definitely out there. There's also obviously people being able to program AI to respond to stuff. I personally using AI to make our agents as efficient as possible and as present as possible. Now, will I keep my nose to the other side of the kind of the scarier stuff? I would say even for me, it's kind of like, but you know how hard it is to sometimes get an agent to do the things that they should be doing and that they're not doing. So it's like, the scary part is if an AI
it's a very, very true statement.
If an AI phone call can at least initially tee up the appointment and scrub it, but that's a fine line. So I'm just being really real.
Yeah.
Genuine, because I think it is a great question. But for me right now, like it is all about making our agents more present with the customer. Mm-hmm. You know, I actually have to almost wish like I get rid of my smartwatch when I'm in appointments because like you get, it's like you just get shocked all the time.
Yes.
And you're like, oh my gosh, it can't focus. But your ability to focus is a superpower. And you should, if anyone's watching this, they should Google Brandon Birmingham and focus is a superpower. It's a talk that he gives, and the dude will have you busted up. He's a really good friend of mine, and very few people have ability to focus.
Yeah.
So for me, AI is actually listening basically all of the time to be able, so that for me to be truly, and then I can actually execute after the fact.
Right.
Or be very professional.
Yeah.
I remember I had a 26-minute phone call. It was a very complex land situation. It was a commercial thing, and AI was able to basically pluck out all of the intricate details of that call. Not only that, it also created an email draft. And I was like, where are the notes? Where are the other stuff we talked about? It actually created an email, and the rest of the notes I was missing were in the email. And this guy knew I was at a conference and we were going to a dinner. And I was like, he's going to be blown away if I send him an email right now with a recap of everything we just talked about and next steps.
Yes.
And I was like, he knows I'm going to dinner. So I did it. I copied and pasted it, put it in Gmail, sent it off. And I was like, that's where AI for me is. And I'm all in on that.
Yeah.
I'm all in.
I'm looking at you with a completely different face now, like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, but there is scary stuff.
Yeah.
But just like anything, I mean, like, we evolve, jobs change,
Yeah.
You just look at, but
yeah,
I think there's a massive opportunity in it. I've been telling my kids, like you need to immerse yourself in this. You need to understand it. You need to understand how to use it. And you need to be on but the thing is, like, the cutting edge of 2 weeks ago, it's so rapidly changing.
That it's different already today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is constantly changing.
I'm one of those people that's cautiously optimistic. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's amazing. I don't know enough about it, still learning about it and how I can better utilize it. But one of those things is I'm still like holding back a little bit because, I am afraid of, now I'm going to need a password when I call my husband so he knows that it's me. Or something, and not to be a conspiracy theorist, but I definitely think that there's a great place for it. Mm-hmm. And it is a way, because one of the things, just to circle back from the beginning, in having a team, people don't realize that you or myself or anyone, I can't take your loan from the very first conversation and do every single thing that loan needs these days to the closing table myself. There's so many things that need to be done that we have teams. We've built teams around us to make sure, because all it is faster, better, right? More efficient, more communicative, more, and the constant, and it's just never enough. So with that being said, then we need a team to be implementing us to help us do that. Well, if this is another way that we and our teams can implement getting to clients faster, more efficiently, but accurately, and not lose that sense of relationship, I think is so important. If that's something that can help with all of us, then I thoroughly embrace it. And I know that to consumers out there listening, it's like, well, who's this person on your team now and why? If we're able to do our job and explain what that is up front, I think then they realize how good it was for their transaction than just dealing with one person from what they say cradle to grave.
Yeah, I think that the real opportunity is for us, even prior to like the AI explosion, every decision we made on like the closing process or the listing process is to improve that for the customer experience.
Right.
Like the North Star needs to be the customer experience.
100%.
Like if we're not focused on that and improving that. And I can tell you that Bill, our closing manager, can definitely run circles around a lot of our agents on getting the customer what they want quicker in a very efficient manner. And a lot of times we're doing things like that. And we're constantly trying to tweak that and make it better.
Yes.
But, I hope we can inspire some people who are listening to this to realize like, hey, maybe I have been stagnant in my business, or maybe I need to revolutionize things or whatever. But there's a lot of really cool opportunities in real estate. Obviously the home sales last year, we're down a little bit. I think we're at like 30-year lows, but I think that
they're projecting 4% increase this year in overall sales. So, I mean, that's great. And I do agree with you. Like for those people listening out there, like this is, or exactly what you said. Maybe I'm stagnant, or maybe I've been fighting AI. Maybe I've been fighting hiring that assistant to help me grow and scale. Don't fight it anymore. Jump in and embrace it. If you really want to grow your business and scale and still provide an amazing customer experience, those are the things you have to start incorporating.
Yeah, and there's a lot of opportunities in the real estate space. So if you know anyone that's maybe not in the real estate sector, but is considering it as a career, or the mortgage side,
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of great teams in this local area, obviously like KK's and mine, but there's a ton of other ones too. And I can tell you they're looking for talent. For us specifically, we would like to develop our own agents. We will take with people with previous experience, but that's not our ideal candidate. We've built a lot of people, from different sectors, but I think there's a massive opportunity for people that want to provide a high level of customer experience or customer service. I think there's massive opportunity in this industry, because I think there's a lot of people that are old dogs like myself who are tired, they are, and they were doing a lot of the business. And, you're starting to see that a little bit, but I think there's massive opportunity for people looking to get into either the mortgage. They're projecting a lot of real estate agents to get out of the business. They've been saying that for a while. I haven't really seen it. But I really appreciate you having me on the podcast. Maybe we can come back again and talk about some other stuff.
Oh gosh. You're that human that I could sit down and talk to and mastermind with all the time. So just such a plethora of knowledge. And I appreciate you coming in and sharing so much with us, Greg. Thank you so much. And it's been a great day here. I've learned so much. Hopefully you have too. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe, download the podcast anywhere you find it. And we will have Greg's information below. If you have any questions on anything, feel free to reach out to myself or him, and we'll be happy to help. Otherwise, thank you again for joining us on the Always On Point podcast with Kristen Ambos. We'll see you next time.